Hey everyone, thank you for joining. This is our first live with Leslie with an I, and today is going to be a little bit of a trial and error, but you know what? I have some of my favorite people with me today. We're going to be talking about pivoting during a pandemic, and we may have some sound issues. We may have some roofing noises from the neighbor because today is when they decided to get a new roof right next door. So that's just what you do in events and live things and live TV and all that. You just kind of deal with what's thrown at you, which kind of brings me right back to our topic today. We're going to be talking to Raina Van Setter. She has been in the wedding business almost as long as we have, 20 years as an award-winning wedding and event planner, and she started in Manhattan. So we're going to kind of delve into a little bit of what makes her so special and so unique. So we love working with her, and during this time, during the COVID-19, and we're home, and this is kind of what spurred me to start a little channel anyway. That there's been a lot of stuff that's happening in the industry, in the events industry, and one of the topics is, what do you do when you planned a wedding, your date's coming up, and all of a sudden you find out from the governor or the president or whoever that you absolutely can't have that event? Like, you can't have it. I'm sorry, your wedding, your graduation, can't do it. So we're going to ask our bride, who is now a newlywed, because we have found ways that you can make this pandemic, don't panic, because there's always an option. There's always an answer. When you have professionals, when you have people that care about you, and you can just step back for a moment and find out, okay, let's just regroup. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk to Brittany Gentry. She is a brand new bride of ours. She got married on April 4th, and she is still planning her big wedding. So she had a little like we would call that a ceremony before a reception, or the celebration. So here we go. We're going to get right into it. I'm going to bring on my first guest, and her name again is Raina Van Setter. So we'll see how this all works out. Again, this is my first time. Hey, I can see you. Thanks for joining. Oh my
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
God. Well,
Um,
this is the only way we can see each other right now, since we can't give each other hugs. So I'm giving you a virtual hug.
Ooh, me too. It's great to actually see you. And thanks so much for having me on your show.
Oh, well, you're my first guest. How about that?
Thank you.
So thank you.
Honored.
And since we went through some stuff with our lovely bride, and it was hurting our hearts, and seeing how this is affecting people. This is really just not just about business, and it is a business for us. But and as well as I do, that it's not just for everybody. This is not a business where you're just selling widgets, and oh, we can't sell widgets today, so let's just give up. No, this is people's lives and their hearts and their celebrations. So
Major milestones.
yeah, so I wanted to kind of give I see it through a photographer's aspect, and I have a job to do, but I also know a little bit about what makes that bride and groom tick from a visual and from what they want to see and how beautiful and confident they want to feel. But you see a whole other side of a wedding. And that's kind of what I want to know, the good, the bad, and the lovely about it. So tell me a little bit about what you do, and then, or at least what you did for this particular time during a pandemic, and how the brides are pivoting and what they're choosing to do and what their options are when they may not be able to have their big wedding yet, so they postponed it.
Well, thankfully, many of our couples have been able to postpone. It's obviously not an ideal situation.
Mm.
You've been spending a year or more planning on this very specific date that may have special meaning to you. There may be guests that you really want to be there who, for health reasons, may not be able to be there if you postpone. So we like to try and work with them to try and find alternatives, ways that they can still have their big day, as well as have their big day with everybody. So we like to offer them three different types of elopement plans, if you will. They're not all traditional elopements. A traditional elopement would just really be your bride, your groom, your
Right.
officiant, and your photographer. Um, the pre-celebration, one of our favorites, you have up to 10 people, very intimate, but it's great because you don't have the time constraints that you would have with usual timelines for a wedding. So not only can you still get legally married, but you can get some really incredible photos and still have your intimate loved ones there with you.
I
And
love
then, of course, a great option, whether you're postponing or you've been furloughed and you unfortunately really need to postpone your big celebration, for maybe a year or more, is a micro wedding where you have up to 25 guests. You have your cake, you have catering, you have some music, whether it's a DJ or not. It's a big wedding shrunk down, tiny little size, like, honey, I shrunk the wedding.
Oh, I love that. It's good.
But you can still celebrate and still have a miniaturized big day, kind of like a teaser to your actual big day.
Oh. All right, I love that. So the elopement, the planned elopement you mentioned,
Yes.
is that the because whenever I would ever hear, oh, we're going to elope, I immediately would just think, oh, they're going to the courthouse and they're going to
Well,
get married, right?
can't really go to the courthouse anymore. And it's not just because of COVID. I mean, obviously, now with COVID, you have to make an appointment even to get your marriage license.
Ah,
So definitely call ahead. They've only been taking about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of your wedding date appointments for your marriage license. But in the state of Tennessee, because we are such an it city, it's such a hot spot to get married that you can no longer just go to the courthouse and say, hey, I want to get married. I just want someone here,
ah,
a county clerk to just marry me right here on the spot.
I didn't
Um,
know that.
in one or two counties, you might be able to schedule an appointment for something like that, but it's few and far between. So it's best to actually find an officiant who can do it for you. And if you really want to get married at the courthouse, I'm sure that we could do it on the courthouse steps. Now, of course, one benefit is I happen to be an officiant as well as wedding planner. So if you do need help with that, I'd be more than happy to assist.
That is a real handy little thing that you have. So you can actually perform the ceremony and plan it.
Absolutely. And we've been doing that with a lot of our couples who've had to pivot during this pandemic. We will, my planning team will kind of work out all of the logistics, whether they're having a micro wedding or just a traditional elopement.
Yeah.
And I'll write their custom script, have their wedding ceremony for them, be able to legally officiate their wedding in the state of Tennessee, get them all married off, and then continue to plan their big day at their later date. So that way they can literally have cake and eat it too twice. Now, of course, you can also do this with the pre-celebration and the micro wedding as well. It doesn't just have to be the planned elopement.
Oh, that's a thank you so much for all of that clear information. I'm sharing this out to a couple of places because I really feel like this information is going to help some people, especially some brides that might have had to go through this. So let's see. Just a minute. Now, we happen to have someone here with us today, and she is our Raina and I's bride. We had the big wedding planned for April 4th, and we were prepared to everybody, all the little details in the last minute, just the timelines and things like that that come right before a wedding were going out when the pandemic was announced. So I'm going to hide you a little bit there, Raina. Thank you so much. And I'm going to bring
See
you
you
back in
soon.
a moment. Oh, hold on just a second. Let me get my stuff together. So this is Brittany. Brittany is just so dear to me. She's a sweetheart. You're going to love her when you meet her. And you're going to know why this was really hard and that's hard for us wedding vendors too, because we know these people and they have to deal with such, like, that was crap. That was just kind of crappy. So here we are. We're going to introduce Brittany Gentry. Let's bring her on, and you're going to see how cute she is. Hi. Uh-oh. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Sorry. Now you're ready.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. Congratulations again on your
Thank you.
marriage.
Thank you so much.
So you were planning your wedding for April 4th. And how
Yeah.
long were you planning it?
We got engaged June 9th. So I think it would have been right at 9 months almost.
So we did your engagement pictures. Bill and I went and shot your engagement pictures.
Yeah.
Then we got ready to, all the details and the timeline and when we were going to do photos and family photos. And then I want you to walk me through, and anyone who's listening that may have gone through the same kind of thing, I just don't think we really understand, like from your point of view. You have how many guests do you expect at your wedding?
I think before 2 weeks before, I think we had a little over 300.
So over 300 people.
Hmm.
You've got food, you've got decorations, you've got invitations that went out, you have RSVP, people had travel plans. Walk me through what happened the moment you realized that you just couldn't do it.
I will never forget that night. It was a Wednesday. I had just gotten back from my bachelorette trip the week prior. And honestly, like all the one word, it was like heart wrenching. It was so sad. I was sad because you dream of this beautiful day, and you just want, and you're like you're marrying your dream man, and all of a sudden a pandemic happens, and you have to think about other people, whereas on that day you just want to think about yourself and the perfect person that you're marrying. And it was really hard. I know that in the end we made the right decision by making sure that our family and our friends and everyone was healthy.
Oh. So here, hold on, I'm gonna come over here. So when you had to just make the calls, and when you and Cranston is your husband, um, talked about it and the reality. I mean, were there tears? What did he cry? Like what happened like that?
Yeah, I think I was really emotional. My emotional was like I would cry at this point, and then I'd be okay because I knew I had faith and I knew it was going to be okay in the end. Um, Cranston, on the other hand, it was like one big giant night where he just squalled, and then he was okay knowing that I was okay. So I think his emotional level was, a little different. And I think as the days went on and the closer we got to April 4th and realizing that it wasn't going to be like we had dreamt it to be, it was a lot easier to understand. And, we prayed a lot. We prayed a lot.
Well, that's obviously and evident. We were there. Bill and I were there to capture the ceremony. It was so sweet. Your family, your close family, and a couple of close friends were there, and it made me cry. Like, but I had a mask on, and it kind of maybe you can't really tell, but it was so emotional and just surreal because this is something that I've never experienced in my life, in my career. I've been doing wedding photography for um, 28 years, and I'll never forget your wedding, your micro wedding,
Yeah.
but it still was beautiful. You had decorations. It was still a planned event. It just was small. And what was the reason you stuck with that date,
With that, what? I'm sorry.
the wedding date that you
With the waiting date. So there were three main reasons, but two are kind of the same. We wanted to be married. We've been together almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in June. So we wanted be married. But our next reason was because of our grandparents, especially my granddad. He has health issues, and when you dream of your family being there, that was one person that I just dreamed about watching me get married to, the person that he had seen me date for the last 10 years, and grow up with that person and have a baby with that person. And so I've always dreamed about him being there. And so knowing that, like, having to push it off was really hard, but I'm so thankful we decided to do that. And Cranston's dream was to always have his granddaddy officiate our wedding. So he was there to officiate our wedding, and hopefully, both of them will be able to attend on 8/1 too.
So your new date is August 1st. I didn't mention that, but the whole thing is still going to be as beautiful and as grand as before. But now you have that memory and that sweet time where you have beautiful photos. I'm going to share a link to some of her photos in this live after we go live. Because again, there's so much going on. I got roofers, some sound issues, but we don't care. We're here sharing this with you. Brittany, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here and sharing your story. And I want my followers or my fans or whatever you would call them to stay tuned for the big day, and maybe we'll check in. I'm going to talk to Raina a little bit more about what what you guys have planned for me, August, and I think they're going to want to see. You're going to want to see it. Yeah, I do. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Give Cranston a hug.
I will. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
For coming on.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, isn't she sweet? I told you guys you would love her. I'm going to bring Raina back, and here she is. So let me unmute you. How are we now?
Great.
Oh, I did something right. She's just the sweetest.
She really is. All three of them are. Cranston, Presley, and Brittany. I just adore all three of them. And I'm super excited for their wedding in August. I'm still pretty sad that we couldn't do it in April, but I'm really excited that we'll all get to celebrate with them.
Like she was,
all of us in August.
Like Brittany was saying, it was beautiful and it came together. Even though it wasn't what she thought it was going to be, it ended up being something completely.
It was intimate and special and beautiful and all of the things that you want for your wedding day.
So
on a smaller scale.
Right. And so it's going to be really the big one. And could you hear me down there when you were down there in that little place?
I can hear you. I just couldn't hear Brittany. So I look forward to rewatching the live in the rebroadcast.
More kinks are getting worked out. Thank you so much, Raina. Is there anything we were going to talk about that I haven't mentioned? We talked about our different kinds of weddings.
Yeah, I mean, mostly we talked about pivoting during the pandemic, the 3 different types of elopements / micro weddings that you can do. But certainly when this is over, I know you and I both look forward to, large or small, celebrating all of the weddings with everybody. We love to plan, and I know you love to photograph. Or small, doesn't matter what size, whether it's 5 to 500 or more.
I think
we've done those 500 weddings with various multicultural weddings.
Yes, and one of the weddings we did, that the Indian wedding, I wanted to share some photos, so I think I'll put them in the comments, and so people can kind of share some or look at some of the things we've done together, and hopefully we'll work together more in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
Your
absolutely.
personality,
You're my favorite.
Your personality is just so calm in the midst of some of the chaos that happens in the beginning before the wedding starts, when all the vendors are running around. So I really love that in a planner, and I love the energy. I think that the energy that the vendors have in behind the scenes really helps the brides and grooms and families if people are hysterical, they're going to get a little nervous, you
And
know?
the other vendors that, if they want to get hysterical, that's okay. My team and I, we're here to stay calm.
Yeah.
There are no problems, only solutions. We're here to help. We're here to make it perfect.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm sure everybody can kind of tell that about you, just meeting you on my live show. So I think we covered a few things that might have been of interest to people, but we will definitely bring Brittany back on after her wedding and what it was like her wedding after she pivoted during the pandemic and went ahead and had her micro wedding as well.
Yes. And of course, in between your micro wedding and your big full celebration, don't forget you're going to want to lose that COVID-19 pounds.
Right. You don't want to talk about how much weight you can gain when you're A, stuck in the house, and B, I think overwhelmed with emotion. Um, I'm raising my hand. I have another guest coming up later this week on Thursday, and she is my mentor and one of my BFFs of my life, Christy Belliston, and she has been such a motivator to me. I was on TV with her because I was a success story, and for 7-8 years, I believe, I kept 70 pounds off, and it's been creeping back, and I am not going to let it happen. So,
well, to preempt that, make sure that you check out our blog. We've got a little, not nearly as good as what she can do, but a little get you started until she goes live with Leslie.
So wonderful. So that is what I also wanted to say about Raina. And I have never, I'm so bad at consistently posting stuff and writing things, writing articles. I have a lot in my head, but I'm better off just talking it. But Raina can write she's a writer. And she has a wonderful blog. So any bride or anybody planning an event needs to go to her blog. I will link down below. I will link her blog post and things like that. Her Instagram, her Facebook page. She is a plethora of information and very consistent. And so if you should follow her, just go follow her on Instagram.
Thank you so much.
I love your page. So
Thank you.
she's got a blog post about COVID-19, and what is it titled?
Oh, losing the COVID-19 pounds, that is.
Yeah.
That's our most recent blog post.
Exactly.
Perfect. And I say our because it's a team effort. My whole team contributes ideas and tips and tricks and for all of our blog posts.
Awesome. I'm going to bring Brittany back here. Just all three of us on screen, and we can all wave goodbye and thank everybody for coming and joining us and liking and sharing and maybe having a watch party or a rewatch party. Just do your part. Okay, stay apart, but let's stay together online right now while we can. Okay? Thank you guys so much for being here with me. Yay! Thank you. Sign off. Thank you. Bye, everyone. I appreciate it.